next part of the 818. I started the wiring harness at the end of the last video, and that's still my primary goal is the wiring harness, but I need to make sure where some things are going to fit before I actually cut things to length and stuff like that. So I've got the seats here. I'm putting them in a little bit to make sure that there's enough room behind the seats for these this fuse box and the brain and keyless entry system. And then I got the dash that I pulled out of a 2010 Impreza yesterday at Pick Parts. So I'm fixing to see if I can mock it up. Set it down there, and the first thing I noticed was that all of the AC and defrost ducting was in the way. It's not going to sit down, so I'd hoped to keep it so that I could take my AC and just plug it into the hub there, and I wouldn't have to route all the flexible hose ducting up under the dash, but that's not going to happen. It won't sit down at all, so we'll have to I'm going to have to remove all that ducting and then come back with the hose that routes around the frame of the 818. So let's get that removed and get it set down there and see how it fits. I've been working on the dash, well, the interior completely. I've had the seats in and out, had the fuel tank in and out, console in and out, dash in and out, trying to get the ergonomics where I wanted them. So first off to the dash, which is where I left off. When I left off, I was pulling all the ducting for the AC out so that I could get the dash to sit down and in on top of the frame. And then after looking at it, I realized that was completely wrong, that it would have put the dash about 6 inches behind the steering wheel. So the dash actually had to come all the way out and up. So I got to put all the venting back. It's just kind of loosely setting in place. I haven't made any mounts. It needs to tip right about there. It's going to tip up right about there and sit right like that. So I may have to trim. Basically the AC vent barely fits, so I may have to trim off the side of the AC vent. I'll have to see when the doors get installed. As you can see, the bottom half of the glove box had to come out. It was interfering with the frame right there on that corner. So I think the front side's fine. On the back side here, I'm just gonna have to take the corner off. You can see the blue line I drew where I think I'm gonna have to whack it up. I may have to cut the glove box. I may be able to just cut the frame around the glove box and see how it fits up in there. But with it sitting here, the shifter's probably going to move back just a tiny bit. I'm going to get a factory console in here to match the factory dash. And then I pulled the fuel tank. I wasn't real happy with how the seats set in there, and so I marked off. You can see the blue lines where I marked off where the Boyd tank, if I get the Boyd tank, gives you 3 extra inches, which will put things sitting about like that. And if I do that, the seats actually sit down in real nice without moving it back. The seat was hitting this, and so it was at a huge angle, and then that puts your back straight up and down. I was still too close to the steering wheel. So a Boyd tank is certainly an option. If I move it back to there, the seat fits in nicely. I can get it all the way back. I can recline it. It's very acceptable. I'd like to have about 2 more inches of room, but this would be workable. If I completely eliminate the tank in the back, don't get a Boyd's tank, push the firewall all the way back, I can get exactly the ergonomics I want up front. That would require me to put a tank in the front somewhere. There's at least one person who's done it on the forum. And I've actually got room for a 12-gallon tank in there. Problem is how to get it in there. I think if I do that, I'd have to make this piece of the frame removable, or at least cut it, put it in, weld it back. Then you'd never be able to get the tank out. But I think if I made it removable with some sleeves and you'd have to remove the sway bar to take the tank in and out, but you should rarely have to do that. So that's my other option. I'm gonna talk to the guy who put a tank up front and see how he actually got it in there, if he had to cut his frame or not, and then I'll make a decision on whether I want to put a tank up front or in the back, just a smaller one. Because like I said, with the smaller one, the ergonomics are reasonable, acceptable, but not perfect. The tank up front, I can get perfect ergonomics in the back. So yeah, that's what I've been doing this morning. The console had to come out so that I could get the firewall out, because the console sits on top of the firewall. I had to take the shifter out anyway. I'm changing that out for the MR2 shifter. So Yeah, so now I got to, I'm going to load all this dash up and the whole fuel tank and get it all out of the way, take it all to the storage unit, and then I'll come back and continue doing a little research on fuel tanks and do some more wiring.